Hello, thank you for coming today. Today I'd like to talk about QR codes. QR codes is something that was invented a while back, and it garnered a major traction in European countries as well as in Asia especially for a while now. People have been using them there for a long time and very successfully. But in the US, it kind of took a little while to take hold, and there was also a number of articles a number of articles that came out saying that QR codes are dead and nobody uses them, and so there was a lot of kind of semi-information or misinformation, if you will, because if you look at QR codes in terms of what they can do, they're tremendous tools for business of any kind, and we'll go over details about why that is. Like I said, there's been some misinformation as far as I'm concerned, and I'm personally seeing more and more QR codes being used in businesses everywhere practically, and I see them on labels, I see them in stores. I certainly use them for my own business. In fact, I built my web-based applications are largely functional due to QR codes. I'm basing a lot of things on QR codes. One of the things that I'm doing in my business is also enabling businesses to track their customers using QR codes. So I'll give you a little examples later on. But let's start with, we start this presentation for you and start with what are QR codes. QR codes are, QR stands, it's a short abbreviation for quick response codes. And they can be used for promotional purposes, they can be used to communicate all kinds of information. We'll go over details about what exactly they can be used for, but they can be used for a lot of different things. And the beauty of QR codes is they're small. They're very, very small rectangular images, basically. They're easy to generate. Anybody can generate QR codes. They're easy to deploy because as long as you can, put a little sticker on just about anything, even if it's fairly small, you have devices that are able to read them, and you don't need any special devices. All you need is your cell phone to be able to read QR codes. So QR code itself, as I mentioned, is a quick response code, and it's basically a two-dimensional code to be used for a variety of reasons, and was designed in 1994 in Japan, apparently, for automotive industry. Personally, I always thought it was designed by Google, invented by Google, but apparently it wasn't. It was actually invented by another company back in 1994. So that means they've been around for what, 24 years. It's been a long time since they've been invented, and a lot of people, like I mentioned, have used them and continue to use them. And in the United States, it's only picking up at this point. So you can see QR codes everywhere, and in terms of their adoption, QR codes look like, you can see them right there on the screen. And in terms of their adoption, it's been very slow in the US. In 2011, only 6.2% of people used QR codes. You can see by 2014, it jumped to 27%. So significant jump there. And I don't have statistics for right now, but I'm sure it's much, much more than that, probably double that at least, maybe even more, because you can see them just about everywhere these days. In 2017, Apple built QR code functionality into their iOS mobile operating system, which of course also legitimized the whole concept much more. And in this year, Google added QR code scanning to their Google Lens application, which is a brand new app. Came out just about a month or so ago, a couple of months ago. And it's also able to use QR codes. So if you scan any of these QR codes you see on the screen, these are not just random QR codes, they actually do different things. And I thought I'd leave the screen on for a little bit and give you a chance to scan using your phone. So all you need is a QR scanning app, which you can get at either Apple's App Store or Google Play Store for if you're using Android, which is what I use. And it's pretty straightforward. You scan the code, it's basically using the camera built into the phone. So you just point the camera at the QR code, it scans it. Most of them are pretty quick. And then they usually give you like a button that says open in browser or open link. Different ones are worded differently, but the bottom line is you can open whatever it found, and it goes ahead and does what it's supposed to do. So pretty simple. And there's a quick tip there. It says keep your QR scanner app on your phone's main screen. If you do a lot with QR codes in terms of using them, then I definitely recommend sticking a shortcut on your main screen, on your home screen on your phone, so you can easily get to it and easily scan. It just makes it much, much easier instead of trying to find it all the time. And they're basically, you can use tablets, you can use mobile phones to scan. You can even use, they actually have ability to scan QR codes directly from a web page. So there's all kinds of apps that are out there allowing you to do different things. There's also all kinds of apps that allow you to generate QR codes. So you can generate your own QR codes for myriad of reasons, and then utilize them in your business, in your applications, in your life if you want. I mean, you can have a QR code that you generate that shows a picture of your child. And you leave it on the refrigerator for your wife. She comes home after a hard day at work, and she can scan it, and there's the image that you shot of the kid, potentially. Or, I mean, I'm just grabbing stuff off the top of my head. But they can be used for just about anything. And like I said, the biggest benefit and the biggest reason you would want to use QR codes is because they're so simple to use and to create, and also they're eat up a very small amount of real estate. So you don't need to have some huge, long barcode that has to fit in a certain size place. QR codes can be small. I mean, literally, you can have a QR code as pointed right there on the screen on a Apple iWatch. As small as that, it will still work just fine to show it. In fact, Atom Tickets, in a movie ticket place, they are when you buy tickets to go to the movies, they can send you the actual e-ticket right to your phone in the form of a little QR code. And so when you come to the theater, they simply scan your QR code, and there it is. There have been other people inventing something similar to that, like Microsoft invented, I can't remember what they call it these days, but they invented their own version, which is different than standard QR code. And they tried to use it, obviously Microsoft being the behemoth that they are, tried to push it throughout different places, but it just didn't take. I see fewer and fewer of those around practically. Unless you walk into Microsoft, you're not even going to find them anywhere. So I think it's pretty much a dead issue, and people are just concentrating on using QR codes because it's not proprietary, and a bunch of people support it, and that's what makes sense to use. That's certainly what I use. So feel free to scan using your QR scanning app. Feel free to use any of the QR scans here you see, and it'll take you to different places, show you different capabilities. So according to Juniper Research, QR codes, coupons, I should say in the codes, coupons redeemed via mobile will reach 5.3 billion by 2022, which is about 4 times more than they were in 2017. So in the 5-year span of time, you can see how much more QR codes are being utilized, and coupons were always huge. But now it's a totally different situation, because before, if papers wanted to show coupons, they had to print the actual coupon, which eats up a certain amount of real estate in the newspaper, or even on the screen if you're using it on the computer, it doesn't matter. Coupon takes a certain amount of room. You can't make them too small, because then they would be unreadable. So you have to make them a minimum size so people can read it, and that's the rub. There's only so much real estate, either on the printed page or even on the computer screen. And that's where QR codes come in, because you can actually have the coupon itself be nothing but a QR code, and when the person scans it, then they actually get the coupon on their phone, and they can take action based on that. So it's a much, much better, much simpler way, and much more consistent way to reliably let people have access to certain information or certain functionality using the exact same technology. And so for those who don't know how to use QR codes, once you see it, and once you understand that you take a QR scanning app and you launch it, and then you point it over the QR code, and it does whatever it's going to do, That's basically the whole learning curve right there. From that point on, any QR code you see, even though they can do a lot of different things, it works exactly the same way in terms of how to get to the information or to functionality. You simply scan the QR code. That's all you need to do. So like right now, I'm going to take my phone just to show real quick. And I know you're seeing me in a small screen, but you can see I got my phone here. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a QR scanning app. And you can see it's pointing, it's just basically camera looking at stuff. And I'm going to scan this on the big screen there. I'm going to scan the big QR code, and with my phone, you can see that I didn't click on anything. I just simply scanned it, and that took us to the PCS webpage. Okay? So if I scan, go back to the scanner, and scan the code that's over the little phone. Let's try to do that. Right there, it took me to Instagram, and I click on View Profile, and that'll take me to one of my client restaurants, right to their Instagram webpage. Okay, so that's that one. If I go and scan, let's say we scan the little tiny guy on the right side there in the iPhone, and so I scan that, and that's going to pull us up to something else. It simply pulls up information, contact information for me. So it's got my email, my phone for texting and calling, name of the company, my name. So you can see you have a variety of things all done very simply with just scanning the QR codes. Feel free to scan them yourself, and you'll get to all this stuff yourself as well, so you can see how it works. Quick tip right there, it says use Google Lens standalone or in Google Photos or Assistant to keep and process QR codes. So right now, Google just recently added Google Lens, and they added Google Lens as a standalone app. They also added Google Lens to their Google Assistant app, which is the Google app. And they also added it to Google Photos. And that's the big deal, is Google Photos. Because with Google Photos, it makes it much, much easier to, a lot of people use Google Photos. So for those who don't really want to download another app on their phone, it's just one scanning app, but still, let's say that you don't have any room, but you do use Google Photos. Now you can simply use Google Photos to read the QR codes too, right from within Google Photos. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later in the demo. Okay, so moving on here. Who and where uses QR codes? Pretty much anyone and everywhere. Anybody can easily get it. Anybody can easily generate it. You can use it inside your business. You just put a little plaque on the wall or on a chair or in the front desk area or on your business window. It doesn't really matter. Wherever you put the code, now it can be used. You can easily put it on websites and blogs. So you can stick it there, and then people can, when they look through your website, they can see the code. And these days already people know that these things do something. They don't know what, but they do something. And so one of the things, for example, I've done with some of my demos, let me see if I got the card here. I guess I don't have that particular card. Anyway, what I did was yes, I do. Here's a little card I set up for my online ordering and customer loyalty business called My 10 Dishes. So just a little business card, has some information. And on the front here, you can see I have nothing but QR code. It's got a little picture and QR code. Okay, if you're going to scan this QR code, like I'm going to do right now, just to show real quick what you can do with that. I'm going to go ahead back to the scanner, and I'm going to scan the QR code. Try to do this so you can see me scanning. There we go. What's going to happen actually is going to come up with a video from YouTube that's showing.
So how easy is it to place an order using My 10 Dishes?
Now you're watching a video being playing directly from the phone.
It's not an app, just a bookmark. And the menu comes up. Then we simply click on the dish.
Okay, so you get the idea. Yeah, we're looking at the, let me stop the video. You're looking at a YouTube video playing something I recorded on the phone, and it could be any YouTube video you want. So you scan the code and YouTube video plays without any other interaction. So again, very simple, very convenient, and variety of different things you can do. So you can put a QR code on your blog, for example, and that QR code can be used when people scan it to launch a video on their phone. And I realize some people say, why would you want to do that? Why don't you just put the video on the website? The reason is simple. People might they might be in a rush. They look at your blog, they like what they see, and they need to run. They were looking at somebody else's computer. So right there, they can scan the code and just go, and then they can view it on their own phone, their own convenience. So there's a bunch of possibilities where it makes sense to have a video on the website and also a QR code so people scan it. Plus QR code by itself, as you can see on the screen right there in front of you, when you look at it, you have no idea what it's for. So unless it's indicated, you have natural human interest to go ahead and, what is this for? So you go ahead and scan it, and it comes up with something. Let's see what comes up. I don't remember what it is. Okay, it's the Google Plus page for PCS. Okay, so that's, people have natural curiosity that they see a code, they know it can do something, but they don't know what it is, so they scan it. So that's why, you know, another reason to use them is the human interest, and kind of pushes people to scan to see what's going to happen. So again, websites, blogs, excellent way to disseminate QR codes. Obviously on social media, you can put it on Instagram, you can put it on Facebook, you can put it on Twitter, put it anywhere, because it's just a small image, that's it. So you can go to town with that. You can, of course, put it in printed materials. You can have your envelopes going out with a QR code on them that has whatever information you want. It could be your website, it could be your video people can watch. Just imagine doing a marketing piece. You're sending out a letter, and you're including QR code, and you're telling people, you know, please watch this video, or please watch our video about such and such. Okay, so people see this piece of paper, and it tells them to go ahead and, you know, use the QR code for video, to watch the video. So a lot of them obviously would be interested to see what the video is about, so they scan it with, like I just showed you, with their phone, and they can watch the video on their phone. Now, you tell me how many people can send letters out on printed media, and then as the end result, have people be able to actually watch a video off of a piece of paper. You can't do it. I mean, you can embed a video on the blog or website, you can't embed it on a printed page. But using QR code, you're essentially almost doing exactly that, because you're telling them to scan the code to watch the video. Obviously, if they don't want to, they won't, which is fine. But the ones that do, you know, one simple scan takes 2 seconds, and they're watching the video right there that came directly from your printed letter. So very, very powerful, very useful. You can obviously put on the vehicles, because a lot of times you drive behind some truck or a pickup truck or van, and for example, the van is just pure white, nothing but white everywhere. It's a major misuse of potentially very lucrative marketing medium, because if you're driving with your business van all over the city, you have tons of people who see the van, and all they see is the white van. And then there's, you know, tons of them around. So you're not promoting your business at all. But imagine putting some kind of graphic on there and indicating what you do, and then telling people, for example, scan the QR code to make an appointment. If you tell them to call you, some people will call, but a lot of times it's really difficult as you're driving to, you know, remember all the 10 digits or at least 7 digits. It's just too much hassle for a lot of people. You know, it sounds good, but it's too much hassle. Of course, when the vehicles are standing, then it's a little bit easier. But still, it's so much easier to just simply, you know, have people scan the QR code, and they get access to your website, for example, and they can make an appointment from there. They can make a phone call. I mean, everything can be done from there. So you're essentially transferring your information. Instead of just showing them something, you're transferring the information to their device by the act of them scanning the code. Very powerful. If you think about it from that perspective, you can see just how powerful a marketing tool it can be. And of course, you can have pieces of art, promo merchandise. You can have key rings, you know, with a little dangling thing that has the QR code on it. You can have all kinds of stuff. You can have mouse pads. You can have little tags for the luggage. That you can have a QR code with your address and name. So if anybody scans it, you know, if the luggage gets lost, there it is right there. All the information is there. So you don't have to worry about scribbling in tiny letters. So all that stuff can be done. I mean, if you think about it, you can put it just about anywhere for just about any purpose in terms of disseminating any information you want. But the beauty about it is it's not just information being disseminated, it's also the functionality that's being added as part of it. Okay, and I'll show you an example of what I mean by that. But the text and the videos and the websites is wonderful, but you can actually take it one step beyond that to actually run applications. And that's where you're going into a totally different realm of functionality that you couldn't do with just about anything else, other than actually creating an app to do what we're talking about. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely unrivaled simplicity and flexibility in what you can do with QR codes. So right now, I don't know the exact statistic, but recently there were over 85% of US population that use mobile phones. So with the QR code readers being free and now being part of Google Lens and also being part of Google Photos, and plus being part of iOS and so on and so forth, clearly just about every person out there has a phone in the United States, and every person then has a very simple way to scan and use QR codes. And that's why it makes sense to use them, because whenever you adopt any kind of new technology, it's always a problem because, will there be enough people to use that technology to make it work for you and for your business? And it's always one of these catch-22 deals. If you develop something new and there's not enough people to use it, then you're not doing anything. You won't get anywhere. At the same time, if you don't develop it, then obviously they don't even have a chance to use it. So it winds up being like a catch-22. In case of using QR codes, you can see it's a very mature technology by now. It's proven technology. It has been used a lot, not necessarily in the United States, but to a large degree in the United States recently as well. But it's certainly something that can and should be adopted. Okay. So what kind of things can you do with QR codes in terms of what can they physically do other than show a website? So website obviously is one thing. You scan, it takes you right to the website. Second thing you can do is you can do videos, like I showed you. So you can do videos. You can also do images. So you scan a QR code, you see an image. Same thing with PDFs. You can have Google Maps and directions. If you want, for example, your customers, you send them something and you want to show them how to get to you, you just place a QR code. They scan it, takes them right to Google Maps, to the directions. All they have to do is punch in go, and from whatever they're at, it'll take them right to your place. So very useful. You can use these as social media links. So for example, you can put a QR code saying, find us on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and instead of having links, you simply have the QR code. So when they scan it, it takes them to your Facebook page or your Instagram page or your Twitter page or any other app, Pinterest or anything else you want to see. You can also use it to download apps from App Store and Google Play Store. So you can actually share a QR code with built-in. It'll essentially what it'll do, it'll pull up the Play Store, for example, and enable people to directly download and install a particular app, whatever it might be. You can share events, calendar events, in other words. You can also have links in there for purchasing purposes. So you can have some kind of advertisement showing a picture of, for example, a pair of shoes, and there's a QR code that says scan to buy. So they scan it, it takes them to the purchase page, they pay with it, pay right with their phone, and they're done. So you can be doing e-commerce using it. You can also use it for Wi-Fi logins, and that's very useful when your friends come over to your house, or a better example would be that your customers, potentially new customers, come over to your business. So instead of putting some sign that says, use this SSID and this password to get into our Wi-Fi, or everybody coming in and asking you every 2 seconds, what's the password, what's the password, what's the password? Instead, you just put in a QR code, and it says right there very clearly, it says scan the QR code to use our Wi-Fi. And so when they scan it, their device is automatically configured to use the internal Wi-Fi. Also very, very useful, very powerful for like restaurants that use Wi-Fi. It's great. Most people don't even do this. In terms of restaurants, don't even know that this exists, even though you can definitely do this with Wi-Fi logins at restaurants and any other business, and in your home. You can have it in your home. So if you have different people coming over all the time and constantly keep hassling you for Wi-Fi information, just tell them to scan the code. There it is. And it'll be another good use for it would be in hotels and resorts. When people check in, they want to use Wi-Fi. Write in instructions of the front desk, or when they come into the room, it says right there, scan the code, and you'll be right on Wi-Fi. So very convenient. Minimizes the amount of phone calling you get in terms of concierges to handle these kind of requests, because people can be, if people are empowered with something simple and something functional, they don't need to call anybody or ask for help. People usually call by the phone, customer service or front desk, because they don't know how to get something done. I came to a resort one time on business, and this was like way late at night. I was super tired. It was a long trip. Anyway, long story short, I just wanted to get a cup of coffee, and I wanted to go to bed. Okay? So I look at their coffee machine. It's nothing I've ever used before, kind of strange, with some weird name on it. And, believe it or not, I could not figure out how to get this thing to work. Some things that I thought should be opening did not open. And bottom line was there were no instructions, there were no videos or anything like that. The concierge service was closed by that time because it was way late at night. And so I went to bed without any coffee, frustrated, irritated. So you wind up, actually, when you do that kind of stuff to customers, like if you're running a resort, you're automatically creating bad vibes and bad customer experience without even lifting a finger to do that. There's nothing wrong that you did specifically to cause this person to be irritated, but they're irritated anyway. And to prevent it is so simple, where you can just simply have a QR code that says, go ahead and scan this particular code. And once you scan that particular code, it'll show you the instructions of how to do, for example, how to use this particular coffee pot, or how to turn on any of the TV with the smart remote control. That was another problem they had, that they had this remote control that you had to finish university to be able to use, and on and on and on. I mean, a bunch of different things like that. So it's very simple. You just create a video. It takes 30 seconds to create a video. This is how you make a cup of coffee. You shoot the video, you put the video as a QR code right next to it, and that's it. Nobody needs to get irritated. So very important to think about these kind of things, how you can enhance your business using something as simple as that. And you also, of course, you can have links to Google Drive documents and files, or Dropbox anywhere on or if you use Azure, in other words, anywhere in the cloud, you can easily get to it using QR codes. One of the things that I did that was kind of interesting is I decided to use QR codes for tracking offers and visitors. What I mean by that is I had offers for some of my restaurant clients that they wanted to send to people, but they wanted to track who is using them. In other words, like in the old days, people would send coupons, and somebody would bring a coupon to the restaurant, so they take the coupon so they can then count how many coupons they got back. But that's an expensive process to mail the coupons, to print the coupons. I mean, it's definitely not cheap to do that kind of stuff. Using QR codes here, you can make the same thing much easier if you have the email list of your customers, which is something that everybody should be building and having. And if you don't have one, you're definitely missing out in terms of marketing. Certainly feel free to get a hold of me later on if you want to discuss this further. But basically, if you have an email list, growing email list preferably of your current customers, then you can reach out to them via email and send them any kind of promotions and communications, different things like that. So one of the things you can do as part of this is you can send them the coupon directly in the email. I mean, that's simple enough. The problem is you're not going to be asking people to go ahead and print this email and then bring it to the restaurant. That's in 21st century. You could do that, but it's definitely not a good way to conduct business. Nor are people open to getting into the whole printing thing and cutting thing. It's most people, especially people like myself, are completely opposed to that. I'm one of these #NoPaper people. So how do you get it done? You want to do the same thing. You want to track it. You want to send them an offer, but how do you get it done? So the cheap way to do it, the simple and cheap way to do it, is to send an email with the offer. So you eliminate printing costs, you eliminate anybody cutting anything or anything like that. But then how do you track that they actually came in and used the offer? If they just come in and eat at the restaurant, for example, then you have no idea that they came in because you sent them the email. If you ask them to show you email, I guess that's one way you could do it. I mean, certainly one way to do it. But a better way to do it would be, and even if they did ask, I take it back. Let me just step back for a second. If they did show you the email, show to restaurant staff, you need to record it somewhere to know that this person came in. You can't just, okay, here's the email, this guy's legit, we'll give him a discount for this deal. But how do you know how many people of these have done this? You're not going to ask your restaurant staff to record something on a piece of paper with a pen. And I know some of you think you will, and you shouldn't. Again, it's not a good way to do it. So what's the efficient and effective way to do it? Well, QR code could be one of the ways to do it. And this is something I used very successfully in a bunch of my restaurant clients. What I do is I send an image, essentially, in the email that has some nice picture of food or something else, and then embedded in that picture of food is a QR code. And so what happens is that that QR code is tied to a form, Google form, which a child can set up, nothing to it. The form doesn't have anything on it except for except for the submit button, essentially. I don't have any fields. I don't need any fields, okay? So what happens is they come in, they show this QR code from their email. The restaurant staff member scans that QR code, and then on their screen, they see this form come up, and all they have to do is click the submit button on their phone, and they're done. As simple as that. At that point, what happens is, as if you know how Google Forms work, whenever you submit a form entry, it goes to a Google spreadsheet, and all the entries are there with all the information there. Well, we're not asking for any information, so you won't get any information, but you will get a date and timestamp of whenever this scan occurred, because it's going to create a record in the Google Sheet. So essentially, by using this process where the staff member simply scans the QR code and then hits submit button on their phone, and that's all they have to do, you end up getting a spreadsheet as the end result. It has a list of all the dates and times when this was done, and of course you can easily calculate what the total was. You can look at date ranges, all kinds of stuff you can do at that point in time. Let's say that you wanted to go beyond that one step, and you say, let's say you want to document the amount of money spent, then you simply change that form to not have, instead of having no fields, you put one field, which is the amount of money, and then your staff member will have to enter that amount of money and then hit the submit button in addition to that. So if you wanted to add some information, you could do that. But the easiest way to do it is no fields, just a submit button. That's all it is. And then you have full tracking of people who came in to use your offer. You know exactly, you don't know who came in if you use the simple approach, but you know that they did come in and they used the codes. So it's no different. I mean, it's much better in how it functions in terms of efficiency and effectiveness when you compare it to regular coupons. You don't know who came in using this approach, and there are ways to make it so you actually do know who came in, and that's what we do. But with basic approach, where you set up a form and you set up a QR code for it, and then you just let people scan and have the staff submit it, and then you have the spreadsheet that gives you information about how many of these specials were given away, and so on and so forth. So very simple, very convenient. You eliminate all the paper, you eliminate the coupons. You know, I used to advertise coupons years ago from some of my business adventures, let's put it this way. And you know, we were talking spending $500–600 per printing for, in my case, it was about 30,000 homes in this local area here where I live, and it would be like on a quarterly basis. It came out once per quarter. But you know, it's a major. If you look at restaurants, for example, who don't make a lot of profit, spending $600 every 3 months to continuously send these things, and you're sending them to nobody. You're sending it to 30,000 people, but you have no idea who they are, number one. Number two, it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it'll stick. You hope these people come back. Realistically speaking, maybe 1 to 2% of these people will bring these coupons back, okay? And usually they kind of tell you to make offers so compelling. If you make it more compelling, people will come. Not more people come, but you're giving away the store because you're not making any money. In fact, when you add the $600 printing cost, you're actually losing money most of the time. You're just hoping to attract new customers, and this is definitely not the best way to do it. You know, we're using like one of our services we created called Fred, which is Frequent Dividends Program. It's a customer loyalty and rewards program for businesses. That thing is so much better to use than any kind of coupon because you're actually actively getting your existing customers, people who want to do business with you, to sign up for it. And like one particular restaurant, as an example, you know, in doing it for a year, they have right now about 400 people who opted in, because anybody can opt out anytime, who opted in to do business with them, to get offers from them, to get discounts from them, to get emails from them. And they can get text messages because we have all the information. We have emails, all of it using this setup. And even though there's a small cost to run the loyalty program, it's nothing compared to this cost of doing these coupons. And you actually have active growing list of your what I call ideal customers, people who agreed to sign up with you, people who did not opt out, so they continue to want to do it, and people who are actually getting benefits by saving money because there's some kind of an offer involved, that after so many purchases, they will get some kind of discount or some kind of a special deal. Like in the case of this restaurant, if you buy 9 meals, you get the 10 free. So it makes it very compelling for people to keep coming back. And you're constantly dealing with people who want to do business with you. They bring a lot more business in because of it, and it's a far better approach than using the traditional coupons. So you can use that approach similar to what we're doing for tracking your customers and tracking so you can see when people come in with whatever offers you send them, you can see exactly how well it worked or how well it didn't. All you had to do was simply generate the QR code and send email out, which of course costs nothing. Okay? And of course, you can also use it for plain old text. You can just have nothing but QR code returning text message, as I showed earlier. All right, so let's look at an example. So here's an example using Fred, this rewards program I just mentioned. And here's an example how simple it works. So somebody walks into a restaurant. I'll just play the video. And there's the offer right there. And so I just scan with the QR reader, and there is the sign up for the rewards program. It's as simple as that. Nothing more, nothing to download, nothing to install. Just scan the QR code, and you're good to go. That's all that needs to be done. So you can see it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So in using QR codes specifically for tracking, basically I'm just going to go over the process of how simple it is to do this. Is you generate QR code, and you can generate it using a bunch of websites. One of them is called qrstuff.com, qrstuff.com is a good website to generate QR codes, but there's a bunch of different things that generate QR codes. And so you can generate your codes. Of course, also you can, if you know how to program, you can also get an API to actually create QR codes programmatically right from your code. So for example, in my rewards program, the way it works is when people sign up for the rewards program, it automatically generates a special QR code just for them. It's their own unique personal QR code, and it texts and emails that code to them. So every time they come to a restaurant, they need to show that QR code so they can get their rewards and they can get their credits. So this is an example where you use API to generate a QR code, which goes directly to the customer on the fly, essentially. But it's a little bit more involved. But if you want to just create QR codes, 1 second, let me close this window. Somebody decided to make some noise there. Sorry about that. So then you can do it using like qrstuff.com. And if you look for, just type in the words like free QR code, generate free QR codes online, you will see all kinds of different services that do that. So you generate the code, step number 1. Step number 2, once you have the code, you need to disseminate it or relay it to your potential or current customers. So you send it via printed materials, you email it, you text it, whatever you want to do. It's just a simple image. So you just simply, distribute it however you want to distribute it. Drop it on your website, on your blogs, on your social media, all over the place. Okay, so that's how you share it. And of course, people can. One of the things that also happens is if people get your QR code on, for example, Facebook, and they like you, and they want to help spread the word, then they can go ahead and simply reshare that particular QR code on one of their posts, and they can add whatever they want to add, and now other people get it as well. So it's easily reshareable, easily reusable, very convenient. Then once you get the stuff disseminated and a bunch of people have it, then you want to go ahead and get the feedback or results from whatever that QR code actually does in terms of functionality. So people can bring it in, show it, so it gets scanned, like I just mentioned. You can have it go, if you use like the forms, it winds up creating a spreadsheet entry so you can track it. So now that you're getting feedback from the execution of scanning of that QR code, you can potentially launch a script. Like most of the services we use are done by launching a script from QR code that does something. And that way you get tangible and trackable results. You know exactly where it's going. When people do this, you know exactly how to tabulate it and everything else. So that's your feedback from using QR codes. And then the final thing is you basically redo the process again. Potentially you might want to, let's say you wanted to adjust your offer to be a different offer, so you might generate a different QR code, or you might use the same QR code for a different purpose. However you want to do it, doesn't really matter. Bottom line is you can easily refine and expand, and then the cycle basically continues. Like example here, it says it could be as simple as change as a parameter in the URL. What I mean by that is if you have a website address that you're using to jump into from people scanning the QR code, you could have a parameter as part of the actual URL that tells it that this is a promotion for the month of July, for example. So it has the month. And then next month, you might want to change it so it's going to be August. So then when these records get created, whatever they do, or whatever functionality you have going on with QR code, you will know based on the fact that now they're running a August promotion versus running a July promotion. So all of that stuff can easily be done, and it's just the whole process goes back to the beginning, and you do the same thing all over again. You generate the codes, you share them, you get the information you need to get from people using them, and then you potentially refine or just reuse, and the cycle continues. So it's kind of a cycle like that. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about Google Lens. Why this is important here is because Google just added ability to scan QR codes directly from within Google Lens. And as I mentioned, Google Lens is now available through both as a standalone app, as a part of Google Photos, and part of Google Assistant. So pretty much Google ecosystem pretty much has it all over the place. And so the Google Lens has the icon looks like this right here. If you don't know where Google Lens, how to use the functionality, whenever you see this little icon like that, usually the bottom right corner of your phone, like in Google Photos, for example, that's how you know that you can use this. If you don't have a QR scanning program, apologize here, what you can do is you can actually take a photo of a QR code somewhere. So let's actually do a live example. I keep doing that. Let's just do a live example. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get into, it's just Google Photos, okay? Allows me to take a photo. So I'm going to go ahead and take a photo of this very screen with a QR code on it, okay? And that's all I did. And so if I go to Google Photos, I'm going to jump into Google Photos here. So here's a picture of the screen. You can see you're looking at the same screen. You can see that there's a QR code there, right there. So it's there. So what I can do now is if you look at the very bottom row of icons there, and if I can make it right there, you can see that icon, the second icon there next to the trash can is the Google Lens icon. So if I click on it, it's going to go ahead and start doing a little dance on the screen, and then it's going to come back with everything it finds, including, as you can see there, it says web page, and it says the open with the Google Chrome icon below it. So if I simply click on that open, it'll actually open whatever the QR code showed, which is my demo for Fred. Using, it's got the logo and stuff, so it jumps right to the functionality of the signing up from a frequent dividends program for Fred. So again, to go through the steps, you take a photo, like we just did, and then you click on the Google Lens icon within Google Photos on that photo. It'll find and read the QR code, and then you tap the open icon or the Google Chrome icon there to open it, and you can actually see either the functionality or the content. Whatever the QR code is for, you will see on your screen. So even if you don't have a Google, not Google, but if you don't have any kind of QR code scanning app, okay, let's say you don't have it, it's okay, because you can take a picture of whatever QR code you want, and then you can go from Google Photos, click on Google Lens icon, and then you can see, and it'll let you read it and do the functionality. Very useful, very convenient. One of the drawbacks to me trying to implement my both mobile ordering for restaurants and my frequent dividends program was that people were complaining to some degree in restaurants initially when I started doing it a year ago that people didn't have the program to scan and they don't know how to do it and so on and so forth. And so with this, it makes it, since so many people use Google Photos, makes it much easier because you don't have to tell people you don't need to download or install anything. If you have Google Photos, you already have everything you need to be able to process QR codes. Just snap a photo with QR code in it somewhere, click on the Google Lens icon, and there you go. And you can open the functionality and make it work. So with that, let's move on to the final tip, which is using dynamic links. What I mean by that is that if you can use one of these URL shortening services like Bitly or Owly or there's a bunch of them around there. What used to be, Google used to have one, unfortunately shut it down. So I actually created my own now, so I don't have to worry about Google shutting something down. Hopefully they won't kill Lens. But seriously speaking, if you create a dynamic link that points to something versus creating a static specific link, then you wind up having ability, flexibility to change the underlying link to be anything you want in the future. One of the things, I didn't realize this initially, so one of the mistakes I made when I made this card is I linked it directly to a YouTube video. And so right now, if I wanted to change that YouTube video, as you know, you can't just change YouTube videos, you have to create a new one. You can delete videos, you can create new ones, but you can't update video with some other video. So essentially, if I wanted to change that video to something else, these cards become useless. I mean, they wouldn't work anymore because the URL would be wrong. But if you use one of these short link services like Bitly, then what happens is you wind up pointing to, you're not really pointing to the video itself, you're having a link that points to the URL, and that URL happens to be a video, and of course that URL could be anything. Now, let me rephrase that. You're pointing to, instead of a video, you're pointing to a URL, and that's all. So whatever that URL points to, that's where it's going to go. And so because the actual QR code itself is pointing to some sort of URL, that URL can be changed to anything at any time, but because the QR code is going to the short link first, that means it's always going to be live and it's always going to be valid. So if you want to change the underlying video, you can change it as many times as you want. The QR code and everything will work perfectly fine. So the bottom line is you create a short link using something like Bitly, you point it to the URL of whatever the video is, and then whenever you need to change something, change the video, you change that URL, but you don't have to worry about anything else. Hopefully that makes sense. So here's an example. Let's say I have this link here, as you can see right there in red. So if I go ahead and scan this particular QR code, and feel free to follow with me if you want. I'm going to go ahead and scan it using my scanning program right there, and it comes up with barackobama.com. Okay, so it comes up with that. So the link itself is knil.us/pres. Okay, so if you scan this red link again, you will see it comes up with barackobama.com. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and scan the blue link, and I'm sure all of you can now guess where that will take you. Feel free to scan it yourself. And let's see where it takes us. It takes us to barackobama.com. Okay? So both links essentially take us to the same place. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and make a small change in my database. The blue link is actually a dynamic link. It's actually a short link. Okay, the red link is not. And so what I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to change. Okay, so now let's change it. Let's scan the blue one, and we get the new president. Okay, so that's an example right there. If I scan the blue link, if I scan the blue link, I get Donald Trump. If I scan the red link, I get Barack Obama. So there's nothing I can do about the red link at this point because it points directly to that particular URL. But because I'm using this dynamic link, which is a short link, it's another way to call it, it's dynamic link, it points to something else. That something else, whatever it's pointing to, I can change to be whatever I want it to be. And then, of course, you can see the difference. So right now, even though initially the two were the same, now I'm able to change one of them to be something different. Okay, so you can do the same thing. In other words, when you generate QR codes, try to make them dynamic so it gives you the flexibility and freedom in the future to stick to whatever content you want to have behind that QR code link. As an added bonus here, I thought I'd add another little piece of functionality that could be useful. If you remember, I mentioned an example that people can send you emails, and in those emails you would have QR codes. Well, if you're reading an email on your mobile phone, which a lot of us do, then it's kind of a little bit of a catch-22 because you have the QR code in your email. Email is on your phone, but you can't exactly scan your email looking at the email on your phone because you understand why. You just can't do it easily because the camera is not pointing at your email. So how do you get this done? The easiest way to do it is just simply do a screenshot of your phone. Every phone has ability to do screenshots, and on Androids, typically you push a couple of keys, usually the volume down button at the same time with the home key. You hold it down, and that will initiate a screenshot of whatever the current screen shows. So all you have to do is just position the QR code in your email where it's visible, take a screenshot of that particular screen, and now you have a photo, which of course, if you have everything properly configured, your Google Photos will automatically add it to its list of photos, and then you can just jump through Google Photos to it, click on the Google Lens icon, and there is your QR code processed, and you can go to the URL or whatever the QR code does. So definitely use screenshot when you have a situation when you're looking at a QR code on your phone and you still need to be able to decipher it. That's the easiest way to do it. With that said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time today, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions or you're interested in developing some kind of solution using QR codes. I'll be happy to help. You can scan the QR code on the screen there for all the details about how to contact me, get a hold of me. Thank you. Until next time.